Hi, here's a quick video showing you some of the things we've been working on in the 365 environment. So I'm logged into our Office 365 environment. I'm logged in as test teacher number 3. And I'm just sitting on our sites page. So what we've been trying to do in our 365 environment is make it a little bit easier for teachers to be able to create a site and share things with their students. As many of you know, we're a little more constrained in the 365 environment around what we're able to do and how much of the experience we're able to change. We don't have the level of control that we do on-prem. So we've created a simple directory page where the teacher can land on. And this directory will show all the sites that have been created by different teachers, and they're also broken down into schools. And so we can see that there's been a few teacher sites that have been created across 3 different schools. And a teacher is able to come over to the Manage page, and the Manage page is actually framing in a component from an Azure server that we've created. So rather than using sort of the businessy 365 tools to create the site, we've created a wizard that allows the teacher just to follow a step-by-step wizard through and create a site and give access to their students. So if I scroll down the page a little bit here, you can see the teacher site has not yet been created. This is the first time the teachers arrived on this site. And they can give their site a title, and they could also put in a description. And then I can select my school. So we actually maintain a list of the schools in the background. So the teacher's able to say, oh, I'm a teacher at Oak Elementary. And all this will do is help classify that site in that site directory. And they can also put in tags. So they can add any tags they like to their class. So maybe I want to add a tag for I'm grade 3, so I'm going to make a tag for grade 3. And these are free-form tags, and again, it just allows the sites to become discoverable in the future. I'm also able to choose a theme. So this is actually using the out-of-the-box 365 themes. As again, in the 365 environment, we're a little more constrained, but we can do around design. So I'm going to choose the nature theme here. And then I've got a box where I can choose my students. So I just start typing the name of my student, and all my students are going to start to show up. And this is actually tied into the DirSync or the Active Directory, depending on how you've set up your 365 environment. So I'm going to add a couple of students here into my classroom. So I'm going to add test student 2 and test student 4. Now here we're just experimenting with what we're able to do around creating web parts and allowing teachers to add or remove web parts to their page. So we've got a featured links, an announcements, a student documents area, shared documents, and a student OneDrive link. I'm going to leave everything enabled for now. And then once I'm ready, I can click the Create button. Now, the one thing we don't know in the 365 environment is how long this creation process takes. Typically, if the 365 client that you're on is not too busy, this process will take usually less than about 2 minutes. But we have seen it reach upwards of 18 to 20 minutes sometimes during busy times. And that's really just a constraint of the 365 environment. We have no control over this process. What's happening in the background is our Azure service is actually talking to the 365 API, creating that site collection, and then it's going to do all the changes that we request, whether that's adding web parts, creating setting up the security for the site, and putting on the correct template. So I'm going to fast forward this a little bit, and we'll move ahead to when it's completed. So you can see as it gets close to completing, our steps start to progress rather quickly. The theme takes a few seconds to set up. You'll see that it now says the site's been provisioned, and I can follow the link here. So the site's now been created. It's used the template that I asked for, and you see I've got a few different links to different places. I'm going to go back and give this a new template that's a little easier to read. So you can return to the managed site anytime you like. Takes a second for it to load. It does a check every time you come to this page. And then I can scroll down here, and let's change this to a little bit easier to read template. And I'm going to update that, and that'll take about 30 seconds to update. There we go. So now that it's been updated, I can click through, and I should see an easier to read template. There we go. So this this class site has got a few different pieces on it. So the first thing we do is we create a link for the teacher to their OneDrive. One of the things we're finding is that users are finding it a little more difficult for the students to find a link to the teacher's OneDrive and the teacher to find links to the student's OneDrive. So there's a button at the top of the page, hasn't been styled yet, but we've got this link here that the students will be able to follow, and that'll just take us over to the teacher's OneDrive. If we return over here, you'll also notice that each of the students we added into the site, we've created a link to the student's OneDrive. So this will make it easier for the teachers to find those students' OneDrive. So anybody they add in their class, a link will appear here. So I'm just going to open one of those in a new tab. And here we go. So we got Test Student 2's OneDrive. So anything the student has shared in there would now be visible from by the teacher. Moving down the page a little bit, you can see we've added the different web parts. We asked for a news feed, a document library, a links area, and those were a few of the tick boxes that we had in that on that management page. And then also over here, we've created a student documents area. And this is simply, we create a shared folder for each student in the classroom. And this folder is accessible by the student, and the student can upload and download documents from their folder. But they can only see their own folder, but the teacher can see all the students. So this just gives us a place where I can go and create documents strictly right for that test student too. And I can still use all the features in 365 as I normally can, but now I can create a document specifically for that student. Or I could drag and drop multiple documents into all of those folders on this page. So I could drag multiple documents in there, and I could give a handout to each student. Finally, the last thing we've done is we've also made it easier for teachers to find the OneNote for Classroom tool. Out of the box, teachers actually don't have the ability to create a OneNote classroom. They need to have a special feature turned on the site collection when a new site is created. So we've stapled that feature to the new site, and then we've given them an easy to find button here to take them to that OneNote classroom. So this simply just is a shortcut that takes them to the OneNote, but out of the box, this is a much more difficult process. You have to know to go into the site content, activate the app, and then go and click through and create your classroom. So this just gives the teacher an easier one step to get to that OneNote class creator. So I can now go and create a new class notebook and just follow the wizard through. We haven't done anything to the OneNote for Classroom application. We've just made it easier for them to access. And I can always go back to my classroom. At any time, the teacher can return to that Manage Site page and make an update. And that'll bring me back here. So if I want to, say, add more students, I can go find more students and add them into my classroom. Maybe I decide I don't really want to have an announcements web part on my page, so I can take that off. And I'm going to update that document. So here are our new sites over there, and you can see my announcements web part has now been removed from my page. Now here I added Test Student 4, but you'll see that Test Student 4's link is not illuminated. That's because Test Student 4 has not clicked on the OneDrive yet, and their OneDrive hasn't been created. So the teacher's able to go tell that student to go create their OneDrive and be able to have that new functionality. From the Manage page, they can also get back to the Directory page. And you'll see that after I created that site, that my site now shows up in the directory here as Test Teacher 3 Classroom, and I've got a link to it, and we can see who the owner is, and it's part of the Maple Elementary School site here. So that's a little summary of what we've been up to in the Office 365 space. Hopefully you find this interesting, and love to talk to you more about what your plans are around 365.